So our next speaker comes to us from Switzerland. His name is Hernani Marques. And he's a computational linguist, a sociologist, and a neuroinformatician. And he's another sort of fighter for privacy and freedom. He's a board member of the Chaos Computer Club in Switzerland. He's also a member of the pep.foundation, which is one of our sponsors, Pretty Easy Privacy. And he'll be speaking about the current state of affairs of the global surveillance complex. So pretty scary stuff. I mean, this is not just the stuff you see on Mission Impossible on TV. This is what happens in reality. So over to you.
At least the part which we know, yeah, from leaks mainly. This will be about mass surveillance, but also some forms of targeted attacks, mainly taking state actors into account. That means actors with lots of resources like secret services. But you will see that also the European Union is doing stuff in that direction. So it's not just the US, for example. So everyone is a little bit doing that. So first of all, general remarks, then mass surveillance, what is that and how is it done? Targeted attacks, and to be a little bit more optimistic, at least now only in the field of IT security, also some possible countermeasures which we all can take by doing the right stuff, I mean in the technological sense. So, first of all, the state surveillance like NSA thinks is not possible without private companies. So there is private-public partnerships going on here. So Edward Snowden never worked for the NSA, but for Booz Allen Hamilton, a private company. Then there is also another leaker now in isolation prison in the US, Reality Winner. She allegedly leaked a document showing some attempts of Russia to interfere into the US elections. It's not shown that a modification was done, but some access, some phishing mails and so on were shown there. So that's an official NSA document. And for that she is being held now without process yet, and she also she never worked for the NSA directly, but for Pluribus International, so another private company, and that's a general thing. So also in Switzerland, for example, we also passed the mass surveillance law now, and there is also written the law that they can work with private companies inside the country and also outside the country. So because the state doesn't have the knowledge in depth in all cases, so they need support also from the outside. So that's to be considered. There's also an NSA technology transfer, an F is missing, transfer program where they transfer the technologies to companies or other state actors if they comply with certain rules. So here you also see that's a WikiLeaks document. There was a company, a French company, which doesn't exist anymore, I think, called Scan and Target. They also had a product with the same name. Here you see that they provide a tool to, for example, analyze all of the Twitter traffic. So you see Homeland Security is one of the customers. So it's just to show that there is a relation here. So from the US, we know more than before. I mean, in the CC, we always said that mass surveillance exists and that's technically possible. But with the Snowden revelations, it was shown how extreme this is. And here you also see a slide that they have that they are accessing like infrastructure everywhere in the world. So, but this is not just the US doing it, also Russia, China, everyone is doing it. But as you can see, I think the US has the best network to surveil everything. That's also due a little bit to the complex in which they are in. I mean, there is the Five Eyes complex with England, with Australia, New Zealand, Great Britain, so they are in there, and they're also NATO members, so they have access to lots of facilities around the world and can tap also undersea cables and everything. So what is mass surveillance in nature? So mass surveillance is given when you don't have certain persons in focus, when you it's basically given when you just search a store or just a data stream. I mean, if you just analyze everything which goes through an undersea cable, so you are doing mass surveillance because you are searching for the needle in the haystack, as you can say. It's not necessary that you save this data. You can also just look for something in there without storing it. But indeed, there is also the Utah data center where they are where they try to save all of the internet. Basically, that's also that you can also see in the in the Snowden movie, which exists. So even if the something which we had in Switzerland was, yeah, there's no we don't do mass surveillance when we search all the traffic because we just look at the things where there are hits. But I mean, to get hits, you need the haystack. So even if there are no hits, if you use a too specific search term, which doesn't appear in your data stream, you still carried out mass surveillance. So it's comparable to airport situations where everyone is put under suspicion to be a terrorist or some drug trafficker or whatever, even though we know that only a few people are criminals or terrorists or whatever, but still they just search everyone. For unknown needles, indeed, so it's also a little bit random. There are different types of selectors, so these search terms like you can search for. So there are different WikiLeaks publications where you see that they have lots of phone numbers of CEOs or like government officials from Japan, from Honda, from everywhere. So that means they like to search everything which they can get for these numbers, for example, or just for the names to see what is going on. If the traffic at least is unencrypted, in some cases they might get access to the platform. So there is also the PRISM project where it was shown that also the big US companies like Facebook, Google, whatever, are somehow willingly or unwillingly providing data to the NSA so that they can search behind the HTTPS encryption in the end, so in the stores. So IP addresses can be also like selectors which you can search. And there was also this ridiculous case with Angela Merkel in Germany. I mean, of course, she's on the list. I mean, but they were doing like a big story about it. Yeah. So if you are a journalist, a diplomat, a CEO, whatever, you are very likely to be on a list. So probably most of the people here are also selector with their different kinds of things. If you don't know what you are searching for exactly, if you are looking for terrorists, you might engage in like free text search. I mean, like you do a search engine search on Google or Startpage or DuckDuckGo, whatever. You can also just search with words, with phrases, whatever. In all of the streams you can get. You can also do that not only with text, but also with patterns of graphics, videos, and so on. And yeah, you can also combine this kind of stuff, so to try to filter. But in the end, it's clear that if you use the word bomb, for example, you can also use it in other contexts. So false positive rates are extremely high. There are also documents from Germany showing that they are nearly 100%. So that's basically clear because you don't know what a terrorist is, what language he uses. In the end, or in the case of economic or diplomatic espionage, it's also, I mean, the words which used there can also be used in other contexts. So here you see also the mindset a little bit of that. I mean, what can you do when you don't have a strong selector in the sense of hard selector? So what can you do if you don't know who the terrorist is with name and phone number? Yeah, well, let's see if he's speaking a language in a country which is out of the space. I mean, let's say Germany in Bulgaria, for example, would be already a point of suspicion, or someone using encryption. I mean, could already be suspicious. Or if you search in the web for suspicious stuff, I mean, whatever that means. I mean, you can also be doing research, for example, and entering terms which seem suspicious, but you are just doing research and you are not being a terrorist or whatever. So that's to be considered. So here you also see like thematic search. So I mean, usually it's not about searching for the bomb and stuff. So you are more like looking for terms around that kind of stuff. So here you see that's an example of Boolean search with where they are looking for weapons of mass destruction, advanced conventional weapons, or government organizations. So they are like combining positions of governments with locations where trade might happen of these weapons, and also components of things which might be traded. So here you see these are just like standard terms. By the way, Bulgaria is like a broker here in this NSA slide. So yeah. So this is how it is being done in the end. So it's no magic in here. It's more like they are searching for like everything. It depends on the topic. So there are also here it must be said there is not just counterterrorism or searches for weapons of mass destruction. There is also the NSA has 32 surveillance categories. One of them is leadership intentions. That means diplomatic espionage. There are also like innovation. There is also an innovation kind of category. That's economic espionage. And then there are 28 other categories with environmental stuff. And so it's just everything being done. The examples here are more like in this area how they like to frame mass surveillance, but it's being done for all kinds of things. So here you also see basically that's really like the ridiculous example with how to build a bomb and stuff or weapon. Here you see that they can search, of course, everything like email bodies, chat bodies, document bodies, calendars, everything. So they can, of course, also unzip your attachment and look what's inside. I mean, you must expect that to happen in real time, more or less. There is also, I always have to look it up because it's ridiculous. There was also a research project running under FP7 of the European Union called INDECT. INDECT stands for Intelligent Information System Supporting Observation, Searching and Detection for Security of Citizens in Urban Environments. So it's a surveillance system which was researched before the Snowden revelations was there, and the idea was to have an INDECT platform where everything in Europe, in the European Union, goes into that, like forum entries, chat things, video surveillance stuff. So basically what the NSA and others are already doing, but more on the European level. Also the Sofia Technical University was also involved in that project, and Germany, and it was under the leadership of a Polish research group. And you really see research on everything, like video surveillance and also computational linguistics, which is the example here. So here you see they try to detect events like an illegal transportation or an illegal financial transaction just by looking into the text of, for example, chats or forum entries, whatever. And of course, if you use pronouns like we, you must expect them to be able to know who we is. I mean, you can relate that with methods of computational linguistics. I think I'm running out of time, but let's try. Here you have also terrorist chat with where they are able to identify nations. I mean, GPNet means geopolitical entity of the type nation. So they can like recognize countries inside text, and then also like names and if they are terrorists or whatever, and then they can find things in this. These text streams or storages. Here from scan and target again, you also have examples of that they are able to recognize different types of written Arabic, for example. So it's not that you can just change a little bit of writing style and then it's fine. So they are also taking care of this kind of stuff. And here for the region of child pornography, there are in this, I mean, I don't know this scene, but there seem to be some terms which they use for 4-year-olds and like pre-teen hardcore, and so you can easily see that these acronyms might also be used in other contexts because they are quite short. So you might get they might think you are searching for child pornography if you use certain terms here. So and Besides mass surveillance, there are also targeted attacks. Of course, you know that from emails you receive all the day where they try to attach you something. There is also laser phishing nowadays. That's like when you write emails in the... I mean, if Patrick writes me an email and it looks like it's Patrick that wrote it, I might click on it because it sounds like him. And the reason why that works is because there is enough data of Patrick on Twitter, for example, how he writes, or enough emails which were used as training material to forge such emails. So you need to take more care in the future of phishing mails even than now. You can also have infection proxies where they try to install you a malware, for example, through zero-day exploits when you do updates or whatever. If online it doesn't work, they can also get just physical access to your system, for example, by inserting a USB stick. So that's the reason why we always walk around with our laptops, because we are paranoid enough that if you just let it in the hotel, they could probably just try to do something to it. Or if at the airport your laptop disappears for 5 minutes, you should probably just buy a new one. Of course, social engineering, yeah, that's more like a social thing that you can, of course, just ask like employees for passwords or some other information to know about the network topology and stuff to enter the system in the end by technical means. Here you also see more like advanced kinds of attacks from the NSA. There's a quantum theory family like attacks. This quantum insert, the first one was, for example, used to bug the European Parliament. So they realized that administrators of the European Parliament working at Belgacom liked to go to LinkedIn, and then at some point the NSA used quantum insert to give them a forged LinkedIn site with malware, and then they took over their computers and could bug the European Parliament by that. So it's really a little bit more than conspiracy theory what is going on here. So that's a little bit the point. And there is also like quantum attacks for DNS to forge DNS responses and stuff like that. So there were also the Vault 7 releases of WikiLeaks. Here it's about that certain Samsung televisions can be bugged to turn it into 1984 style televisors, like to activate the microphone. I think in most cases it's needed to access the thing physically, but yeah, I mean, if you're not at home, that's easily possible. And then you can access data from outside or by going again there and look at the storage, what people were talking. I mean, there are also like, with Siri and Alexa, it's getting easier anyway, so probably this is more like getting old again. Also interesting is Marble. That's an obfuscation framework of the CIA to obfuscate malware. I'm finishing just right now. To obfuscate malware, and you can also add, there was also there is an example there in this Marble framework where you see that you can also just put random strings of different languages in, like Arabic, Chinese, Russian, Korean, and Farsi. By accident, this seemed to be people speaking these countries, these languages seem to be the main adversaries of the US, so probably some of the attacks which they say were the Russians could be done by the CIA themselves, so at least they have frameworks for that. Yeah. Okay, I also would have a slide here, 2 slides here to discuss a little bit what can be done to fix a little bit the things here, to make it more, I mean, you cannot really fix IT security completely, but you can increase costs. And I mean, one thing, we had it already in the morning, but you can also do it without blockchain, of course. We need federated technologies. We need technologies without fixed identities. I mean, if you look at WhatsApp or Signal, you use your phone number as identifier. That's probably not the best idea. Besides that, it's a centralized platform which you can attack. You also saw that now with Telegram and Russia. We need end-to-end cryptography everywhere, with easy ways to authenticate. I think Nana will talk a little bit about that later. Full disk encryption, all devices, strong passwords to unlock the devices then. And the more difficult thing is we need vector-free software and hardware. What concerns the hardware, I think the European Union could do a good job by financing such things instead of surveillance. I mean, hardware could also be built, for example, in Bulgaria. So because it's cheaper. So because that's always an argument that it's too expensive to do things in Europe, but we have lots of countries here, so there could be a way to have these things under control. And we also need investments in digital literacy programs for children, most importantly, so that they know what the internet is from the very beginning on. And we need political movements to stop the things which I think Bernd Fixer was presenting a little bit. We need certain things need just to be stopped politically. So there's no technical solution. I don't know of any. Yeah. Okay.
Amazing. So we're being spied on in all different ways. And on the languages side, I mean, there are 4,000 languages on the planet. Have they covered every single language already?
No, they from the NSA documents which I saw, they have a focus on like Spanish, Arabic, and so the most common ones, Chinese, of course. Yeah, but I mean, even if you...
So Bulgarian is safe, or?
I don't know, but I mean, in your country, I think it's also normal to just save all the calls. I mean, in Switzerland, if you call the Swisscom, they say that they will record your call. So if you are speaking Swiss German, they can create an annotated training data material out of that, and with that you can find other Swiss German speaking people. So you must expect that there is enough material around.
Profiling, and yeah. I mean, it sounds terrible.
So
well, Klingon, is Klingon safe?
I think it's not that much used, but
so
probably it's safer.
Klingon is a made-up language from a sci-fi drama. Can we get a question from the audience?
It's at least well-defined, so you can analyze it. Good, very good.
That's a negative, that's not a positive.
The Swiss German is less well-defined.
Yes, over there, the gentleman.
Thanks for the very interesting talk. What would you recommend? Where can we find more information about these topics?
I mean, if you want to look, for example, at the INDECT research results, there's just like a website, indecteu.org or something. Otherwise, I would have a look into Vault 7 revelations on wikileaks.org, and the Snowden archive. We should have a look, because I mean, it's not that that in the CC we thought that that's impossible. We were just a little bit astonished, or at least I was quite astonished, that they really just do everything which you can imagine. I mean, like even like Cisco routers were stopped at the border in the US to bug them and then send it forward to the countries of destination. So you really must expect everything a little bit to happen. I mean, of course, they also have costs to consider. If they want to carry out targeted attacks, they need to take care to not use the 0-day or the stacked security holes which have all the time. Otherwise, probably they will be caught on that. But still, yeah.
Is your presentation publicly available? Or?
Yeah, it's. I think I put it on Twitter already yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
What rank do you have? What rank do you have on the most wanted list?
What?
Are you wanted by the CIA?
No idea. I don't care. I'm not that paranoid. So they don't bring me to that point. No.
Because you have to understand, in Bulgaria, the biggest religion is what people believe in is conspiracy theories.
This is conspiracy practice.
And you're like a messiah. You've just shown everybody the light. You know?
Yeah. But I mean, it's not my stuff. It's publicly available. I mean.
Well, thank you very much.
Yep.
Round of applause. Yeah.